Welcome to Retirement Your Way. I am Debbi Marcum, the president of Retirement Solutions Group, and I deal with everything that has to do with retirement. I'd love to welcome my amazing, beautiful co host, Jaclyn Gladhill. How are you doing today, Jaclyn?
I am fantastic, Debbie. You
Good.
just bring me a smile and so much sunshine, and I love it. And, before the show today, we were talking about this bitter cold that we are dealing with, both of us. I'm in
Both of us.
Minnesota, and you are in Tennessee. And so, Debbie, share with the listeners what you are dealing with this week and kind of
So,
the worries in your
uh,
head, right?
well, we're not used to the cold weather like you are in Minnesota, so it's been a little bit colder than we're used to, and the forecast for this weekend for Tennessee is just intense. So, depending on whether you look at Google or the Weather Channel, they're predicting anywhere from 4 to 15 inches of snow, which is highly unusual for us.
Wow.
And we just don't have the equipment to deal with it here. So, say a prayer for
Yeah.
us that we survive if
Yes.
the European version is much worse than what some of the other forecasts are. So in this case, I'm kind of hoping the European model is off. 15 inches just sounds like a lot.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I know. And it causes so much stress,
It
right? I mean,
does.
and you say that yes, you're not used to it like we are. Oh, I'm not used to it. I just have to suffer. So,
You might be used to it, you just don't like it.
yes. Yes, yes. And we're sitting at, when we're recording this, we're sitting at -5 degrees, and that
Mm.
is not a feels like or a wind chill. No, that is the actual temperature. So you get what you get?
I'll say a prayer for you.
Yeah. I guess this is where we both just bow our heads and, we're not supposed to complain, but
You're
we can a
correct.
little bit, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're correct. I try
Well,
not to.
yes, yes. Well, Debbie, I'm excited for this topic today because I think it's an important one to kind of preface to our listeners and viewers on why you need a financial advisor.
I
And
agree.
there's a lot of pros to this. And so, where should we start today, Debbie?
Well, first of all, why do the majority of people need, an investment advisor, a
Hmm.
financial advisor? Uh, and in regardless of our stages in our adult life, uh, I think you need someone in your corner to advise
Hmm.
you on this. And first and foremost, you need to have a relationship with your financial advisor.
Hmm.
And that may change throughout the years. And as we progress throughout this today, I'll kind of explain why and when you might need to progress for that. But it's very important to have a relationship with a financial advisor. You need to know and trust your financial advisor and be able to contact them and know that they're going to respond back to you in a timely manner. So, you know, I kind of I take pride in the fact that we take very good care of our clients. But I specialize in retirement. However, you don't need to wait until retirement to actually have a financial advisor. So I'm going to kind of go through some of the major benefits of having a financial advisor. And I think that might kind of help people decide, okay, who do I need and when do I need one?
Hmm.
The first one would kind of be goal setting and planning, and it needs to be customized. It's not a one size fits all. And whether
Yes.
you're a younger couple and whether you're planning on buying a house or whether you're planning on having children or, you're still in the accumulation phase, it's important to plan for past the accumulation phase. You actually need to start planning for retirement in your early 20s, because sometimes it takes that long, depending on what your avocation is. It may take that long to actually kind of build up to your retirement, especially if you are self employed. You need to make sure that you are planning for that. So I think it's important to set the groundwork early on. Plus, it also, especially for couples, you then start having the discussions about money and what your attitudes are about money. Because it amazes me, I will meet with 75-year-old couples and they discover that they have very different opinions about finances.
Mhm.
And, they've been married for years and they're just now having that discussion. That can cause a little stress,
So
if they find
I
out.
yes, and I completely agree with you. And I will say from my own personal experience, Debbie, you and I talk a lot about our faith and where we are at with our religion. And so one of the things is my fiance and I just started couples counseling, marriage counseling with our pastor. And next time that we meet, it's going to be talking about finances. And we
Very good.
already know that we don't agree. One's a saver, one's a spender.
Mhm.
And, that's typically what happens in a marriage. Honestly,
I think the majority.
yeah. And so it's so important to have those conversations now when you are, young. And yes, it can switch absolutely between a
Yes,
couple, but it's so important that you continue to have those open and honest conversations with each other, because then when you bring in a third person as a financial advisor,
Mhm.
they can help you create those conversations, but it's good to have a good baseline.
I agree. And a good financial advisor will actually continue to guide you through those. I
Mhm.
mean, they will intentionally continue to have those discussions because life happens, circumstances change. So
Mhm.
you may start off having, an opinion, and then your life situation changes and your
Yes.
opinion can change. I hope you are taking advantage of The Color of Money. That's a great
Yes.
starting point for people to discover how they feel about money and finances. The toughest that I've come across is when you have two spenders.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
especially if you're just meeting with them for the first time and they are approaching or in retirement and they are just now having that discussion and haven't planned for retirement. That can
Yes.
be a little tough. But I think goal setting and planning is kind of the first stepping point for a
Mhm.
financial planner. And like I said, it needs to be customized. It's not a one size fits all.
Mhm.
And you need to plan beyond that accumulation phase. By accumulation phase, I mean, are you saving money for children? Are you saving for their college? Are you saving for a house? Whatever you're saving while you are in that career mode and drawing a salary. So that's the goal setting and planning, and it needs to be ongoing, which is why I have annual reviews with my clients, which is why they call me if circumstances change, because they know that we need to continue and plan even well into retirement. So I think that's first and foremost. Probably the second reason would be investment management. They can advise you on appropriate investments. They can help you manage asset allocations, and especially the asset allocations, that's an ongoing process. A
Mhm.
good financial advisor is going to continue to educate themselves. They continue to stay in tune with what is going on in the market, what's going on not only nationally, but internationally, because that has an impact on our finances as well. So, while they are continuing to improve their education, they keep you informed of all of these things. And
Mhm. Yeah.
the, yeah, I
And
think
and
it's
I
important.
just I just want to put out there that, as a financial advisor, you are the educator, you are the
Yeah,
counselor, you are the friend, you are, you play so many different roles in this situation because, you really want to focus on taking the emotion out of it.
I agree.
That's why there's a financial advisor, because they can kind of see things from a different perspective. They
Yes,
see your life kind of on paper, right? You put it
that's right.
out there, you can see it, and there's no emotion. Versus in your marriage, there's always going to be emotion.
Yeah,
There's always going to be emotion as to your children, your family, what you want to do. And so it's so nice to have that financial advisor look at it on paper from an outside perspective.
I agree. And boy, that segues right into my third point. And that is a good financial advisor is going to give you behavioral coaching. They can
Oh.
they can kind of keep you away from those impulse buys, or if the stock market is tanking, are you in a
Mhm,
panic?
mhm,
If there is a health crisis that comes along, they can help you guide through that and take some of that emotional aspect out of it. One of the biggest things that I have had to deal with some of my clients, I say have to, and I don't mean that in a negative response, but for example, if one of my clients inherits, you know, finances from someone, often they don't know what to do with it, and they either blow it and so it's all gone day one,
mhm,
or they've stuck it, in a coffee can and buried it in the backyard, or it's sitting in a checking account doing them no good. So I kind of help them take that emotion out of it
mhm,
and guide them through what is the best asset for you. Where should we
mhm,
place your money so that it's working for you, and
mhm.
not actually hurting you, because if you do it the wrong way, it can kick you into a tax bracket
Yes.
that's higher, and it can negatively impact you, which, the people
Mhm.
that have left that to you, that's the last thing they want. They want you to inherit, the biggest bang for your buck you can get. So I think behavioral coaching is an ongoing thing. And often that's because of the life happens situations.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
you take that emotion out of it. And
Yes.
while I tend to be a rather emotional, personal, I get to know you personally, I'm not emotionally attached to your money. So
Mhm.
it's not my money. And so I can deal with it in a different standpoint than,
Yes.
if it's your own. So
Well, and I know we've kind of briefly touched on this, but I think that this is a good point, to bring up too is finding a trusted advisor that you both can agree and trust in.
yes,
Because if you're not both trusting the same person behavior wise, or if something happens, like you said, Debbie, it's going to be very hard
yes,
to, stay with the same advisor. And you
I
really
agree.
want to choose somebody that you both choose and you both like and you both trust.
I agree. And it may change.
Mhm.
Um, for example, I had a fantastic financial advisor when my latest husband and I first started, and he was incredible, did very well for us. Um, his strength was not dealing with retirement, though, and
Mm.
especially with retirement, as a widow. And so I ended up changing financial advisors, within the first year after my husband passed away, simply because, you know, that was not his strength. And I needed to
Mhm.
go with someone where they specialized in senior, you know,
Yeah.
retirement,
Yes.
problems and issues. And so for me, it was the perfect choice. So while you may have a financial advisor that is perfect for you when you are in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and even early 50s, you may need to change to someone that specializes in retirement,
Mhm.
because it is equally important. In fact, in some respects, it might be even more important than, the accumulation phase, because the majority of retirees don't want to go back to work. They don't want to
Yeah.
have to go, be a greeter at Walmart. So I think a retirement, someone who specializes in retirement, is essential, especially as you get older. You might not necessarily want to start with them in your 20s, although I do have younger clients. All of my younger clients are actually children or grandchildren of current clients.
Mhm.
So I don't market to them. I'm more than happy to help them, and can do that. But I think as you get older, I think a retirement specialist is especially helpful.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's a great point, Debbie, and that kinda leads me into my next point is, it's so important to have an expert,
yes,
and because there is so much new things happening in this field. There are new taxes, new regulations, like
yes,
we always say, legislation, is written in pencil, is the reality. And so there's just so much to keep up with that
I
an
agree.
average person, when you are working 40 hours a week and having kids and doing your own thing, it's almost impossible to keep up. I
I
mean, for
agree.
myself, it's impossible. And
Yeah.
so leaning on an expert to take in that information, understand it, and then communicate it to you is so beneficial long term.
Oh, I agree. Which, leads me to another point. One of the things that I help so many in my office, help so many of our clients with is, for example, required minimum distribution.
Mhm.
We get so busy in our life, even in retirement. In fact,
Yeah.
sometimes my retirees have a more hectic schedule than than my clients that are in their 40s and have a full-time job. They have very busy schedules, and it's so easy to forget that required minimum distribution. And my office stays on top of it. So when it's approaching that time, we contact them and say, okay, it's about time for you to start your required minimum distribution. And so let's handle that. And so it's a great support system for you in that we help you keep on track. And a good financial advisor will do that for you. They keep it on track for you. And that way, that part of your life is on speed dial. It just
Yes.
cruise control. You don't have to worry about those little minutia that you may forget, because life happens, or, you may have the flu about the time, and then you just kind of put it off and forget it.
Mhm.
So I love the fact that my office does a great job of keeping my clients informed and up to date. And, they're not getting late notices from the IRS of, you did not take a required minimum distribution. So I think a good financial advisor does that for you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, too many of them don't take that on. So I think that's important, that you get a financial advisor, or you have annual reviews. You have, you know, that office contact you and say, okay, there's a new law that's coming up that's going to affect you tax wise.
Mhm.
Let's meet and talk about it. Or it's about time for you to take required minimum distribution. So those are very important
Mhm.
details to have when you're choosing a financial advisor.
Absolutely. And it's not even just, rules and regulations
Yeah.
necessarily, but it's also like market. You
Yes,
really don't want to be sitting there and paying attention to every dollar going up and down. And that is exhausting
I agree.
just as an individual, you want to trust your financial advisor and set it kind of in their hands, right? They are going to be the
Yes,
ones to stay on top of it for you. You
that's
don't
right.
need to be looking at it at a daily basis. You can trust
I
them to
agree.
do it and take care of it.
Yeah. I do have a couple of clients that, dabble in the stock market.
Mhm.
And, they ask me how I feel about it in retirement. And I said, as long as it's not going to impact how you live your life, if it tanks,
Yes.
then you need to keep it, because they do it as a hobby. But if it is stressing you out to look at that every day, I know for
Mhm.
me, getting that monthly statement almost caused a panic attack. It
Yes.
just, you know, I worry about it too much. And so having that financial advisor that you can trust, that's going to keep an eye on it. And if it starts to decline or, change, they contact you and say, okay, let's walk you through this and let's see how we're going to manage it.
Mhm.
Hopefully you've had that discussion with them to find out, you know, are you a risk taker? How comfortable are you at
Mhm.
risk, or do you want something safer? And they should be having those discussions with you on an ongoing basis, especially, yeah, I mean, right now internationally, that's impacting so much of our daily lives, that it's not just what's happening in the United States. And a good financial advisor is going to keep you up to date with what is going on with all of that.
Yes.
And I mean, it doesn't always have to be a phone call. Sometimes an email or sending a letter explaining things can suffice. But I love the phone call. I like it when, they will call you and say, okay, I know you are like this, that you may be worried about this. And
Mhm.
they're proactive in it. And I think that's very important.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. And at the end of the day, there are so many reasons why having a financial advisor will benefit you, benefit your spouse, and benefit all of your retirement accounts and taxes and, prevent you from having Uncle Sam knocking on your door.
I agree.
There's so many aspects to finances, and finances are really the top priority or the top concern, or in a marriage, that's the number one thing that
Yeah.
leads to divorce. Like, money
Yes,
is a crucial thing to discuss and figure out, and it's a huge part of your life.
it is.
So, leaning on somebody and having a trusted professional in your corner is so beneficial to you and your emotional health, your physical health, and really your well being.
I agree. I have so many clients that will say, this has lifted a load on my shoulders that I wasn't aware was there. And
Yeah.
in fact, the clients that I met with today said, we are so grateful for you, because you've educated us, you've taught us so much about what is going on, and I no longer worry about those things. So
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it, is I like to lift those worry from them at all possible. I don't have a magic wand, but sometimes just the unknown is what's worrying them. And
Yes.
so if I can educate them, and I believe a good financial advisor is going to continue to educate them,
Yes.
because as you mentioned, the laws are changing all the time. That
Yeah.
pencil is well used. Uh, eh, Another reason is tax efficiency. I mean, if you have your money invested wrong, especially if you've inherited something, or if you have
Mhm.
IRAs, so yeah, you may increasing your tax that you owe. And,
Mhm.
one of my favorite things to do is, put off taxes as long as you can. I'm a firm believer
Mhm.
in that we need to pay our fair share of taxes, but I want to minimize that effect that it has on you. You shouldn't have to pay more than your fair share. So a good financial advisor is going to help you with that. And sometimes it's simply moving something from one asset to another that's going to be much more tax efficient.
Yes. And finding, strategic ways on how to handle it, right? I mean,
Yes.
if you can find all this information online and you can ask ChatGPT or AI to help you, but the reality is you're not going to have that trust, that communication, that relationship. And, there's just it's so important to have somebody in your corner that can strategize for you, use all different aspects of your life and put it into a plan for you, an individual plan that will benefit you and that strategizes with your income and your
I agree.
taxes and your needs. Because you could be losing out on a lot of money if not done well.
There's a lot of false information,
Mhm.
internet wise as well. So it always worries me when people are leaning toward,
Mhm.
internet or even ChatGPT or
Yes.
AI for the answers, because they're biased as well. Those answers tend to lead toward how they're already picking up on what your viewpoint is. So
Mhm.
they tend to lean toward, if you are more left leaning, their answers are going to lean more to the left. If you are more right leaning, their answers are going to lean more to the right. So,
Absolutely.
a good financial advisor is going to take that personality out of it and just give you the straight answer.
Yeah.
And we've done our homework. We don't
Yes.
just rely on Google for the correct answer. We've got that
Yes.
education background that's very important.
Yes.
Um,
Well, and
another
yeah, a lot of false information out there
A
that will
lot of
lead you
false
the wrong
information.
wrong road, and we
Yeah.
really want to avoid that.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That's why having that relationship, I think, is important. It's kind of tough to have relationship with ChatGPT.
Yeah. Yes, yes,
I've heard it
absolutely.
being done, but that kind of scares me on a whole different reason. um, Another benefit are the life transitions. And personally, I don't know a single individual that doesn't have some kind of unexpected life transition. Uh, from a good friend of mine got engaged for the first time at 55, definitely a life transition.
Yeah.
Or losing a loved one, or an illness, or getting a new job and having to move. Those are all life transitions, and the overwhelming majority of people go through those. A good financial advisor is going to help you through those life transitions. And you may be headed in one direction and that life transition changes, and wow, you have to completely shift gears. And if the financial advisor knows you well enough, they can not only help you through that, they can actually anticipate some of those changes that are going to be taking place.
Yeah.
Um, I think the accountability is especially important.
Yes.
They need to have regular checkups and check-ins with you. If you have a financial advisor and you haven't spoken to them in 3 years, there's a problem,
Mhm.
because they need to be checking in with you on a regular basis, even
Mm.
if it is, an email, or, depending on how big their clientele is, it's not always possible to reach. These large companies, they may have, you know, they may have
Mhm.
100,000 clients. That might be tough to kind of make an individual phone call, but it is important that they are not only reaching out to you, that that you can reach out to them and you can reach them. Um,
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I have met with people and then said, I have tried calling my financial advisor and left 5 voicemails over the past month and have not heard back from them. So that should not be happening. If
Yeah.
if you are with someone and that is, please find a new financial advisor,
Mhm.
because you should be able to reach out to them and get answers. And if they're not responding back to you, there's a problem.
Yeah.
So I think that accountability is very important. It also helps you hold yourself accountable, because
Mhm.
if you have a financial advisor that then is then going to come to you and say, okay, your goal was to do ABC and none of it is happening, how can I help you get there? I think that accountability, on both standpoints helps.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Alrighty, Debbie. Well, this has been a fantastic
Okay.
episode, and we were running out of time here, but I could just chat with you forever,
It goes by
honestly.
so quickly.
It goes by so quickly. Well, to our listeners, Debbie, can you share how they can, get a hold of you? What is your website and what is your phone number?
Okay. The best way to reach me is calling my office at 866-247-5695. That's 866-247-5695. 5695. You can find me on our Facebook Retirement Solutions Group or our website Retirement Solutions Group. There are a few in the United States. When you get to the one that has the mountain view, that is ours. You can also, actually find and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and my YouTube channel, which is Debbi Marcum. And just remember that we're here to assist you in retirement. Look forward to
Yes.
meeting with you.
Yes, absolutely. And I would check out the YouTube. It's pretty fun to watch our goofy little faces, but if not, that's okay. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts while you're driving into town. But we appreciate our listeners and viewers staying with us today. And this is just a fantastic topic, and we will see you guys next week. So thank you, Debbi. And that does it for this episode of Retirement Your Way with our host, Debbi Marcum.
Thank you.